This story is based on Hindu mythological book Mahabharata. It tells us the importance of patience and good behavior to defeat the obstacle, problem, hindrance, and so on. Once, in exile time, Pandav brothers were spending their time in forest. As they saw a deer in the jungle, they chasing it reached far from their hut. Due to extreme heat, they felt thirsty. So Yudhishthir sent his youngest brother Sahadev to search water. Sahadev went, but did not return for a long time. Then, sad, Yudhishthir sent Nakul, Bhima, and Arjuna respectively, but nobody returned. Finally, Yudhishthir himself went to search his brothers. While searching them, he reached in a pond where his all brothers were lying down. Seeing such dead condition of his brothers, he wept and cried heavily. Anyway, at first he wanted to control his thirst. As he was about to drink water, somebody warned him that without giving answers of his questions, he was not allowed to drink. Yudhishthir told the unknown person to ask him questions, and he would try his best to give correct answers as far as possible. Now the voice of Yaksha started asking question. Yaksha asks, "How does the sun shine?" Yudhishthir answers, "Due to God's grace." Yaksha asks, "What is the powerful weapon to fight against dangerous situation?" Yudhishthira answers, "Courage." Yaksha asks, "Who gives more than earth?" Yudhishthira answers, "Mother." Yaksha asks, "When does the man become the dearest of others?" Yudhishthira answers, "When he leaves his proud." Yaksha asks, "What thing is essential to live, and living that thing will make anyone happy?" Yudhishthira answers, "Anger." Yaksha asks, "To be a rich man, what things should he live?" Yudhishthira answers, "Will or wish." Now Yaksha becomes quite happy with his answers and wants to revive his one brother. So Yaksha asks him to whom to revive. Yudhishthira requested to restore the life of Nakula. Then Yaksha asked him why he did not see the importance of other brothers. He replied him that he along with Bhima and Arjuna were offerings of offsprings of Kunti, but Sahadeva and Nakul were offsprings of Madri. So if they both died, Madri would be childless. From the side of Kunti, he was alive and could continue his dynasty. Yaksha became quite pleased with his answer and showed him his real appearance. In fact, he was YAMARAJ. Finally, he restored all his four brothers. He also promised him that he would help them to guide in their last year of time of exile. He also advised them to go and stay in Maitsya, disguising their appearance. What does help to restore all brothers of Yudhishthira? It is the patience of Yudhishthira. Therefore, the story is about the importance of patience. Sahadev, Nakul, Bhima and Arjuna were so thirsty. They did not have patience even to listen the questions of Yaksha. Though Yudhishthira was very thirsty, he controls himself and answered all the questions asked by Yaksha. The story also focuses on the right and justice. The man should not be selfish. It was beneficial for Yudhishthira to restore either Bhima or Arjuna, but he did not like to be selfish. He wanted to restore Nakul because he did not like to end the line of Madri, his stepmother. Thank you. Hello everybody, here I am once again with the reading of the text, and this time it is from Ancient Tales, and it is Yudisthira'S wisdom, source the Mahabharata, Hindu epic, and it is the Santa R. Rao's adaptation. Let me read out for you. Here I go. Another time it so happened that the Pandava brothers, in pursuit of a deer in the forest, wandered far from their dwelling place. The sun was hot overhead, and they grew thirsty. The deer had vanished, and now, footsore and weary, they came at last to a stop. Knowing that their search was in vain, their mouths were parched. They scanned the earth in all directions for some sign of water, but seeing none, they trudged wearily onward until at last Yudisthira, unable to go any further, sank down under a tree to rest and sent Sahadeva in search of water. The youth went readily enough, but when he did not return for a long time, Yudisthira grew concerned. He sent Nakula to see what had happened. Nakula obeyed, but he too, like Sahadeva, did not return. Then, one by one, Yudisthira sent his remaining brothers after the others. But when they all went and none returned, he grew very anxious, not knowing what evil fate had overtaken them. At last, he decided to go and see for himself. Following their footsteps, he walked on for a distance until he came to a pool in a clearing. Its clear, still waters reflected the blue sky, while the pink, white, and blue lotuses that grew in it raised their smiling heads to the sun. But as his eyes looked upon the lovely scene, Yudisthira saw another sight at which the blood froze in his veins. For there upon the earth lay his 4 brothers, cold and still, either dead or unconscious. Their eyes were closed, and when he called to them, they would not answer. Sorrow filled the king's heart, and he fell on his knees by them and wept bitterly for them, wringing his hands in his grief and crying out to heaven to take him too, for he could not live without his brothers. Unknown to Yudisthira, his brothers had failed a strange test at this forest pool. The first to come was Sahadeva. Full of joy at seeing water, he knelt upon the bank and bent down to quench his thirst. Suddenly, a voice broke through the silence of the grove. "Stop, Sahadeva," said the voice. "Do not drink, for this is an enchanted pool." Startled, Sahadeva looked about him, but he could not see one. He turned to the water. It looked cool and inviting. He was very thirsty as he paused, undecided, and the voice rang out again. "I'm a YAKSHA," he said, "and this enchanted pool belongs to me.
No one may drink of its water until he has answered my questions. Sahadeva rose up and waited. He could see nobody. He seemed to be alone except for the birds chirping in the trees and the dragonflies zooming over the water. It must be my fancy, Sahadeva thought. The hot sun makes my imagination work. He decided to ignore the voice of the invisible speakers. He was too tired and thirsty to wait. He made a cup of his hands and kneeling down began to drink. But hardly had the water touched his lips when he felt himself struck down. Sahadeva's senses reeled. The world went dark and he fell down unconscious. When Nakula arrived shortly afterwards, he was grieved and surprised to see his brother in this condition. But so great was his own thirst that he could not wait. He rushed to the water's edge to drink. But as he stooped, he too heard the Yaksha's warning voice. However, he too paid no attention. He drank, and instantly he too was struck down and rendered unconscious. When Bhima came to the spot, the same fate overtook him. Though he was strong and mighty and sent a shower of arrows in all directions in search of the hidden enemy, Arjuna fared no better. For a long time, Yudisthira wept on the bank. Then, feeling his thirst overpower him, he dragged himself to the edge of the water. But as he bent down, Yudisthira heard the Yaksha's warning voice. "Who are you?" he called and looked around. Ask your questions. I shall answer them as well as I can. The voice continued. I am a Yaksha, Yudisthira, and it is well for you that you heeded my warning. Now listen to my questions. What makes the sun shine? The power of God, Yudisthira answered. What is man's surest weapon against danger? Yudisthira quickly replied, courage. Courage is his surest weapon in danger. What gives more to man than even the earth does? What feeds him and sustains him and makes him strong? The Yaksha persisted. Yudisthira did not hesitate. A mother, surely. It is only a mother who gives a man life, feeds him and sustains him. A mother is more than the earth. When does a man become loved by his fellows? Asked the Yaksha, and Yudisthira responded, when he gives up pride. What is that which makes a man happy when he has lost it? The Yaksha went on. Anger, said Yudisthira, with certainty, for he knew that when a man gives up anger, he is full of peace. Yaksha continued. What can a man give up and immediately become rich? Desire, answered Yudisthira. It is only the man without desires who is really rich. Even if a man has 1,000 possessions, he will be poor if he is not satisfied. So it went on, and until at last the Yaksha said, I am well pleased with the answers, and I shall restore to you one of your brothers. Choose whose it shall be. Yudhishthira looked at the unconscious forms of his brothers. It was hard for him to decide, but he spoke at last. Kind Yaksha, he said, restore to me my brother Nakula. And why Nakula? The Yaksha's voice asked. Is not Bhima more useful to you? Will he not benefit from his great strength in the war that will surely come? And Arjuna, why do you not choose Arjuna? Is he not dearer to you than all? Is he not the most handsome, the most skilled among them? All in the use of arms? Why do then you choose Nakula? Yudhishthira answered. Listen, Yaksha, he said, righteousness and truth are a man's only weapon and protection. The strength of man, Bhima, and skill of Arjuna would be of no use to me if I acted unrighteously. Indeed, I would be unrighteous if I looked to my own benefit and begged for Bhima's life or Arjuna's in preference to Nakula's. For Nakula is Madri's son, and Bhima and Arjuna, like me, are Kunti's children. Of Kunti's children, I at least live. But if Nakula and Sahadeva should both die, then Madri's line would end. Therefore, Yaksha, it is right that Nakula's life should be restored rather than Bhima's or Arjuna's. When he had said this, in that very moment there appeared before Yudhishthira a shining, crowned person whom he knew at once to be a god. The divine personage was none other than Yama, the god of justice and death. God of justice and death. Yudhishthira's heavenly father. Yama embraced Yudhishthira and told him that he had come to help the Pandavas in their hour of need. He told him how pleased he was with Yudhishthira's noble conduct and wisdom. He restored to life not just one of the brothers, but all of them. Yudhishthira knelt at his heavenly father's feet, and his heart overflowed with gratitude. Yama blessed him and promised that he and his brothers would be protected by heaven in their hardships. No harm shall come to you, he said. Neither will you be discovered while you live in hiding during the last and 13th year of exile. He advised Yudhishthira to go with his brothers and Draupadi to Maitse, where the god King Virata ruled, and to live there in disguise. There they would be safe from their enemies, while they awaited the end of their long period of exile. That's all for today.